Lebo wiped her hands on her apron, glancing at the gleaming kitchen. Every year, she cooked the entire Christmas feast while her family lounged, scrolling phones and chatting, barely noticing her effort. This year, she didn't just feel tired, she felt invisible. A quiet fire burned in her chest. Maybe it was time they realized her value. The hard way. Lebo woke up before sunrise, the house still quiet except for the hum of the fridge and the occasional creak of the floorboards. She tied her apron tightly, rolled up her sleeves, and started chopping vegetables, stirring sauces, and checking the oven. The smell of spices filled the kitchen, a sign that another Christmas feast was taking shape. Meanwhile, the living room was full of laughter and chatter, but not from appreciation, just idle scrolling on phones and casual jokes. Her parents leaned back on the sofa, sipping tea, occasionally shouting small instructions as if Lebo were their personal chef. Ona, her younger sister, hovered near the doorway, picking at every little detail. "Lebo, the gravy is too thick. Did you forget the salt?" she said, tapping her finger on the counter. Lebo forced a smile but felt a pang in her chest. Every year it was the same. She worked from dawn to evening while everyone else relaxed, acting as though the holiday magic appeared by itself. No one noticed her tired hands or the ache in her shoulders. Every instruction felt like a demand, every complaint like a needle in her heart. She washed, stirred, chopped, and plated with precision, silently counting the hours until the family would sit down to eat, oblivious to the effort behind each dish. Even when she paused to wipe sweat from her forehead, no one asked if she needed help or even a simple thank you. Ona rolled her eyes at a small spill, and her mother glanced over with a half-smile that said nothing, while her father called for the next dish impatiently. Lebo's mind began to drift, imagining a Christmas where she wasn't invisible, where her work mattered, where the people she loved actually saw her. But for now, she kept cooking, her hands moving almost automatically, her heart quietly building a fire that was growing stronger with every ignored plea for recognition. Today, like every year, she was the engine of the holiday, while everyone else enjoyed the ride without even noticing who was driving. Lebo was stirring a pot of thick stew, the aroma of garlic and cinnamon filling the kitchen, when she heard her family laughing from the living room. She paused for a moment, thinking it was harmless holiday cheer, until she caught the words clearly. "What would Christmas be without Lebo?" her father said, and instead of warmth, there was laughter that felt sharp and mocking. Ona added, "Yeah, she does everything anyway. We might as well just sit back and watch." Lebo's hands froze, the wooden spoon trembling slightly as she realized the truth she had been ignoring all these years. Every dish she cooked, every decoration she hung, every extra hour she spent cleaning and planning, her family treated it not as love or care, but as a given, something they could take for granted. Her chest tightened, and a cold wave of frustration swept over her. She had always smiled through it, laughed along when they joked, and kept going, hoping for a simple thank you, a nod of recognition, or even just a glance that said they saw her. But here it was again, her hard work dismissed, her effort treated as invisible. As she chopped vegetables more forcefully, feeling the knife press through the carrots with a sharper edge than necessary, Lebo's mind began to race. She replayed every Christmas morning, every dinner she had prepared, every little inconvenience she had endured for their comfort. The realization hit her hard. They didn't appreciate her. They expected her. Every meal, every decoration, every laugh they shared at the table was built on her unnoticed sweat and tired hands. A small fire of anger flickered inside her, growing brighter with each passing second. Lebo took a deep breath and wiped her hands on her apron. She imagined a Christmas where she wasn't the one running from stove to counter, from pot to oven, answering orders like a servant. She imagined a holiday where her effort was seen, respected, and valued. Quietly, almost silently, she began thinking of a plan, a bold move that would make them finally understand the weight of her contribution. Not with yelling or tears, but with action, a clear line that could no longer be ignored. The thought gave her a strange thrill, a mix of fear and excitement. For the first time in years, Lebo felt that she didn't have to carry the entire holiday alone, and that perhaps, this year, they would finally see her worth. She returned to the stew, her movements precise but her mind sharp, plotting a Christmas that would change everything. As the evening sun dipped behind the rooftops, painting the kitchen in warm orange light, Lebo cleaned the last of the dishes, her hands still slightly sore from hours of preparation. Her family sat in the living room, snacks in hand, scrolling on their phones and laughing at a show on TV, completely unaware of the storm brewing in her mind. Taking a deep breath, she walked in and said calmly, "This year, I won't be here for Christmas. I have other plans." Her father snorted, thinking she was joking. "Other plans? Lebo, it's Christmas. What could be more important than family dinner?" Ona giggled, rolling her eyes, clearly enjoying what she thought was a prank. Even her mother laughed lightly, shaking her head. "Don't be silly, you can't skip Christmas," she said. But Lebo didn't smile, didn't laugh, didn't waver. Her eyes were steady, and her voice carried a quiet seriousness that made the room go slightly still for a fraction of a second. Without another word, Lebo went to her room and packed a small bag with essentials for a few days. She didn't need much, just enough to show she could step away and still be okay. Before leaving, she wrote a simple note, leaving it on the kitchen counter next to her phone. The note read, "I'll be back when I'm respected." It wasn't loud or angry. It was firm, clear, and unshakable. She placed her phone next to the note, knowing her family would try calling immediately, and she was ready to ignore it for now. The weight of every ignored compliment, every dismissed effort, and every sarcastic comment pressed into her chest, but now it was fueling her resolve rather than crushing her spirit. Lebo felt a strange mix of fear and exhilaration. She had never stepped away before, never set a boundary so boldly. As she stepped out of the house, the cool night air brushed against her face, and she felt a sense of freedom she hadn't realized she craved. For years, she had carried the burden of their celebrations, their comfort, their traditions, and now, for the first time, she was choosing herself. Each step away from the house was a step toward her own respect, her own recognition, and her own power. Inside, the family continued watching TV, unaware for a moment that the dynamic had shifted completely. Lebo's quiet decision was already shaking the foundation of their holiday expectations, and when the absence sank in, it would leave a mark they could no longer ignore. This Christmas would be different, not because of decorations or food, but because Lebo had finally decided to demand what she deserved. Morning came with a strange quiet in the house. The sun streamed through the windows, but the usual aroma of spices, roasted meats, and fresh bread that marked Lebo's work on Christmas morning was missing. Her parents rubbed their eyes, expecting to hear her bustling in the kitchen, humming or calling out instructions. Instead, there was only silence. Ona wandered into the kitchen, expecting Lebo to be there with her apron on, but found the counters empty and untouched. A small panic began to rise. "Where is she?" Ona asked, her voice sharper than usual. Her father appeared, bleary-eyed, still holding a cup of coffee. "She said something about other plans," he muttered, but it didn't register fully until he saw the empty refrigerator, the unprepared vegetables, and the stacks of bowls still clean in the sink. Their mother, equally stunned, flipped through the grocery lists, trying to figure out what needed to be done next. The problem was obvious. No one else knew the recipes, the secret ingredients, or the precise order of preparation that made Christmas dinner a success. They tried to start, clumsily following vague memories of past meals. Ona attempted to boil the turkey, but it burned on the outside and remained raw in the middle. Her father tried mixing the gravy, but it ended up watery and lumpy. Every dish seemed to fail, and every attempt made them more anxious. They argued over small things. Did we have enough sugar? How much cinnamon goes in the pudding? Where's the cranberry sauce? The list of problems seemed endless, and the tension in the air grew thick. The decorations were a mess too. Lebo had always arranged them with precision, tying ribbons, balancing ornaments, and lighting candles in perfect harmony. Now garlands hung unevenly, candles were unlit, and the centerpiece was missing entirely. Each misstep reminded them more painfully of how much they relied on her. By mid-morning, their panic turned to frustration. They tried calling her, but the phone went unanswered at first, leaving a pit in their stomachs. They were overwhelmed and humiliated, realizing that without Lebo, the entire holiday setup was collapsing. The stress built with every burnt dish, every wrong measurement, and every missing ingredient. It was no longer just a meal, it was a chaotic testament to their dependence on her. For the first time, the family saw clearly how much work Lebo had always done. silently carrying the weight of their holiday traditions. The laughter and jokes of yesterday were replaced with worry and desperation. The house, usually filled with comfort and warmth, now echoed with frantic attempts to salvage a Christmas that could not happen without the one person who had always made it perfect. By late morning, Lebo's phone began buzzing nonstop. First came Ona's frantic texts. "Please Lebo, come back. We can't do anything without you." Then calls from her parents poured in, each more desperate than the last. Lebo let them ring a few times before answering, her hand steady, her voice calm and controlled. "Hello," she said almost casually, as if nothing unusual was happening. On the other end, Ona's voice trembled. "Lebo, please, it's Christmas. The turkey is burnt, the gravy is all wrong, the decorations, everything. We need you. Come back." Lebo listened quietly, nodding even though no one could see her. She took a deep breath and spoke with a calm firmness that made her sister freeze. "Ona, I have always been here for you, for all of you. But this is exactly why I stepped away. My time, my effort, my energy, they are not invisible. They are not yours to take for granted." Her mother called next, panic clear in every word. "Lebo, honey, please, we didn't mean to, just come back and help. We can't manage without you." Lebo's tone didn't rise, didn't waver. It was steady and deliberate. "I'm not here to be taken for granted or mocked. I love this family, but respect is something that must be earned, not assumed. I will return when I see that respect is real, not just words." Her father's call followed, louder, angrier, but still tinged with fear. "Lebo, don't be ridiculous. It's just a holiday, can't you just—" Lebo interrupted gently but firmly. "It's not ridiculous. It's the first time I've ever prioritized myself over being a silent servant. I want you to understand how much work I put in, and how little recognition I get. I will not continue being invisible." Each call ended with a stunned silence on the other end. No yelling, no tears, no pleading worked. Her calm authority shook them more than anger could have. Lebo felt a strange satisfaction as she hung up the last call, realizing that finally, they were feeling even a fraction of the stress she had carried for years. As she looked at her quiet, small apartment, she imagined their frantic attempts in the kitchen, their confusion over burnt turkey and ruined gravy, and their sudden realization of how much depended on her. For the first time, she wasn't the one scrambling, apologizing, or fixing mistakes. They were. Her heart swelled with a mix of pride and quiet joy. She hadn't shouted, argued, or forced anyone to feel guilty. She had simply stepped away, and that alone was enough to make them see her value. For Lebo, the calm in her voice wasn't just words, it was power. She had finally flipped the script, and now her family was learning what it meant to depend on her, and more importantly, what it meant to respect her. By mid-afternoon, Lebo had settled into her small apartment, the quiet around her a stark contrast to the chaos she had left behind. She sank onto the couch, still wearing traces of flour on her hands, and opened her phone to scroll through messages from friends. One by one, she shared everything: the endless hours in the kitchen, the constant orders, the mocking jokes, and the frustration of feeling invisible every Christmas. Her fingers hovered over the send button, unsure if anyone would truly understand. Within minutes, replies flooded in, full of encouragement, admiration, and empathy. Her friend Amara was the first to respond. "Lebo, you are incredible. I can't believe they treated you like this. You do so much for them, and it's time they realize it." Another friend, Tay, wrote, "You need to show them what you're worth in a way they can't ignore. They rely on you, and now they're finally seeing it." Lebo felt a warmth spread through her chest. For the first time, she wasn't just imagining respect. People outside her family saw it, and they believed she deserved it. They began brainstorming ways she could assert her value, practical ideas that made her heart race with excitement. One suggested she post pictures of past Christmas feasts she had prepared, showing her skill and effort in a way her family couldn't ignore. Another friend encouraged her to organize a small online demonstration, like cooking a holiday recipe live for friends and followers, proving that her talent wasn't just noticed in her home, but appreciated by the world. They reminded her to remain calm, to let her work speak for itself, and to keep her dignity intact while making her family see the truth. Lebo's mind raced with ideas. She pictured herself posting images of her beautifully arranged tables, the golden roast, the sparkling desserts she had spent hours perfecting. She imagined friends commenting, praising her skill, and feeling that satisfaction of being recognized publicly for the first time. Every message from her friends was like fuel, building her confidence and helping her see that this wasn't just about anger or revenge. It was about respect, fairness, and finally claiming her worth. By the time evening came, Lebo felt a strange mix of excitement and calm determination. Her friends' support made her feel seen, understood, and empowered. She realized that she wasn't alone, that her courage could inspire others, and that this Christmas, she had an opportunity to change not only how her family treated her, but also how she viewed herself. For the first time, she wasn't just the holiday chef. They would see her as the person she truly was, capable, strong, and irreplaceable. Lebo smiled, already planning her next move, knowing that with careful steps, her family's ignorance and mockery would soon be replaced with respect they could no longer take for granted. By late morning, the house had turned into a whirlwind of confusion. Lebo's parents and Ona tried to take over the kitchen, but every move they made seemed to make things worse. The turkey, which Lebo would have roasted to golden perfection, came out charred on the outside and raw in the middle. Ona had spilled flour on the counter while attempting to bake cookies, turning the once clean kitchen into a mess of white dust and sticky batter. Ingredients were misplaced. Salt was added instead of sugar, the cranberry sauce ended up in the gravy pot, and no one could find the hidden spices that Lebo always kept in a secret drawer. Her father tried to follow Lebo's instructions from memory, but it wasn't enough. He mixed sauces that curdled instantly and forgot to preheat the oven, resulting in burnt pies. Her mother struggled to set the table, knocking over glasses and leaving napkins crumpled. Even the simple task of arranging decorations turned into a disaster. Lebo had always spent hours tying ribbons, balancing ornaments, and making everything sparkle perfectly. Now, garlands hung crookedly, the centerpiece wobbled, and the candles were unlit. Each mistake was a reminder that their smooth, joyful Christmas had always relied on her meticulous care and hidden effort. Ona ran around in a panic, trying to correct what she could, but every attempt led to more chaos. "I can't find the sugar. Where is the cinnamon? The gravy is ruined," she shouted, frustration rising in her voice. Her parents were equally frazzled, raising their voices and blaming each other for every mishap. The laughter and comfort that usually filled the house were gone, replaced by stress, shouting, and anxious pacing. As the hours passed, the family's dependence on Lebo became painfully clear. They realized that they hadn't just taken her cooking for granted, they had taken her presence, her skill, and her patience as well. The house, which had once been a place of celebration and ease, now felt heavy with tension and regret. Each burnt dish, each misplaced ingredient, and each crooked decoration was a silent testament to her importance, showing them exactly what they had ignored for so many years. By mid-afternoon, desperation had set in. The smell of overcooked food filled the rooms, the table looked chaotic, and no one had the energy to fix it all. Every task reminded them of Lebo's absence, and every failed attempt deepened their panic. For the first time, they weren't just missing the perfect Christmas, they were missing Lebo herself. Her family was forced to confront the truth. Christmas without her wasn't possible, and their reliance on her had been far greater than they had ever admitted. The kitchen, the meals, the decorations, everything depended on her, and now that dependence had turned into a lesson they could not ignore. Lebo sat at her small dining table, her phone in hand, scrolling through old photos of Christmas dinners she had prepared over the years. Each picture told a story: golden roasted turkey, perfectly glazed ham, colorful salads, and desserts arranged like little works of art. The table settings, the candles, the little touches she had added every year to make the holiday special, all captured in crisp, clear images. A smile touched her lips as she tapped post to share them on social media, adding a simple caption: "Years of love, time, and effort for a holiday everyone enjoys. Merry Christmas." Within minutes, her friends began reacting. Comments flooded in, praising her skill, her attention to detail, and the love she poured into every meal. "Wow, Lebo, this looks amazing. You're so talented," one friend wrote. Another added, "I can't believe how much work goes into this. Thank you for sharing your magic with us." The messages kept coming, each one building Lebo's confidence and reinforcing what she had always known. Her work mattered, even if her family had never acknowledged it. Meanwhile, back at home, Her family had turned to social media themselves, desperate for ideas on how to fix the chaos of their Christmas preparations. That's when they stumbled upon Lebo's posts. They paused, staring at the photos, their eyes widening as the reality hit them. Every dish they had mocked or assumed would appear by magic was showcased in all its beauty, carefully prepared and presented. The comments from friends and followers praising her skill made their stomachs sink. Her parents and Ona scrolled, reading one comment after another, seeing how many people admired the effort and creativity that they had taken for granted. It was a clear, undeniable proof. Lebo was not just good at what she did, she was extraordinary. The laughter they had shared at her expense now felt empty, replaced with a gnawing realization that they had overlooked the value of someone who had quietly held their holiday traditions together for years. Panic and shame crept into the house faster than the aroma of burnt food. They realized that the world outside had seen and appreciated Lebo's talent, her dedication and her patience. Things they had ignored, dismissed, or laughed at. Each post, each comment, each perfectly captured dish was a mirror showing exactly how blind and ungrateful they had been. For Lebo, watching the notifications roll in brought a quiet satisfaction. She didn't need to shout, argue, or demand acknowledgement. Her skill, her effort, and the recognition of others were already speaking loudly. Her family's realization that she was irreplaceable was inevitable. And this time, it was reinforced by proof they could not ignore or dismiss. For the first time, Lebo's worth was undeniable, not just to her friends, but to the people who had always taken her for granted. On Christmas Eve, Lebo stepped through the front door, carrying a small bag, but moving with a quiet confidence that immediately changed the energy in the house. The burnt turkey still sat on the counter, the messy table barely set, and the crooked decorations hung like a reminder of the chaos she had left behind. Her parents and Ona froze, eyes wide, mouth slightly open. For the first time, Lebo wasn't rushed, anxious, or pleading. She was calm, composed, and in complete control of the room. She set down her bag and looked around, letting the silence speak for a moment. Then with a steady voice she began. I came back not because I wanted to save Christmas, but because I want you to understand something important. Respect isn't something you assume or take for granted. It's earned and it's given to those who are valued, not mocked or ignored. Her words were firm, but there was no anger in them. Just truth and authority that made her family feel small without her raising her voice. Ona looked down, guilt written clearly on her face. Lebo, we didn't mean, she started, but Lebo gently raised her hand. I know you didn't think about it, she said, but thinking isn't enough. Every year I gave my time, energy, and heart to make this day perfect for all of you. And every year, it was taken for granted. You laughed at my efforts, joked about my work, and acted like it was expected. That hurt more than you know. Her father rubbed his forehead, realizing how blind he had been, how easily he had let his daughter carry the entire burden of their celebrations. Her mother's eyes shimmered, a mix of shame and newfound understanding, as she glanced at the burnt dishes and crooked decorations, a visual proof of how much she had relied on Lebo. Lebo walked into the kitchen, gently picking up a pot and examining it. These meals, these decorations, this holiday, it isn't magic. It's effort, precision, and care. And those things matter, not just to me, but to how you treat the people who make your life better. Her calm, clear words hit harder than any shouting ever could. For the first time, her family truly understood. They saw the sweat, the patience, and the love they had dismissed for years. They realized that her skills weren't just helpful, they were indispensable. Lebo's quiet authority had forced them to confront their negligence, and shame replaced arrogance. By the end of her explanation, the room was heavy with silence, but it was the kind that carried understanding. Lebo didn't need to raise her voice. Her presence, her calm, and her unwavering stance had already made the point. Her family now knew exactly what they had lost by taking her for granted, and for the first time, they saw her not just as the holiday chef, but as the strong, capable, and invaluable person she truly was. By the time the evening lights twinkled on the Christmas tree, the house felt different, lighter, warmer, and full of a cautious hope. Her parents approached Lebo first, their faces soft with genuine remorse. Lebo, we're so sorry, her mother said, voice trembling. We never realized how much you do for us, or how much it hurt you when we took it for granted. Her father nodded, adding, We promise to change, to appreciate you, and to respect your time and effort from now on. Ona stepped forward, tears in her eyes. I'm sorry too, Lebo. I shouldn't have complained or joked. You've always worked so hard and we never saw it. Lebo listened quietly, letting their words sink in. She smiled softly, feeling the power of her decision without a trace of anger. Thank you, she said, her voice steady. I forgive you, but we need new rules. I will help, yes, because I love this family and I want our holidays to be special. But I will not be treated as if my work is automatic, or my time is less valuable than yours. Respect and acknowledgement are not optional. They are part of how we live together. Her family nodded, understanding that boundaries were now part of the equation. With the new understanding, Lebo returned to the kitchen and the living room. Together, they began to work as a real team, laughter replacing panic. Her parents helped chop vegetables, Ona carefully arranged the table, and even the decorations were adjusted with care and attention to detail. Lebo guided them gently, showing them how her effort could be shared without being taken for granted. The kitchen no longer felt like a battlefield. It felt like a space of collaboration, appreciation, and joy. As the first dishes were served and the family gathered around the table, the atmosphere had transformed. Everyone was aware of Lebo's contributions, and her presence was respected and valued. She noticed small gestures, a thankful glance from her mother, a smile from her father, and a quiet nod from Ona, that told her they truly understood. Lebo felt a deep sense of triumph, not just for proving her worth, but for reclaiming her dignity. She had turned years of being overlooked into a lesson in respect and self-worth. The holiday celebration, once chaotic and stressful, now sparkled with balance and harmony. Her heart swelled with pride and contentment, knowing she had changed not only how her family treated her, but also the way she saw herself. This Christmas was different. It was joyful, fair, and full of love, and for Lebo, it marked the first time she felt truly seen, valued, and respected. If you've ever felt invisible or taken for granted, hit and share this story. Tag someone who needs to see that standing up for yourself isn't selfish, it's powerful. Comment below your own Lebo moment, and let's celebrate self-worth together.